Hello, friends. This is Intakhab Alam. I'm a senior DevOps engineer at Amazon US with more than 13 years experience in IT industry. Today, I'm gonna show you how to crack coding interview, which is one of the important round in software engineering role. So whenever you are interviewing with any company, the coding round is the important or the screening round, the first round. So you'll have one platform, either it's a coder pad or hacker rank, which will look like this, similar like this. And the interviewer will give you the question. So let me take the question here. So, sorry. So this is the question. So as you see, the interviewer will copy and paste the question here, and your task will be to understand the coding code coding problem and then solve it. So it's kind of like a live session where you can share the screen or interviewer can see the screen. So if you see this problem, interviewer might explain or they will ask you to understand. This is a basically a very common question. It's been asked in Google interview and many other companies by many other companies also. So this is basically a missing range coding challenge. You can also find this problem in lead code. So what it says, so you are given a integer array and you will be given a lower and upper limit. Your task is to find out the missing numbers and the missing range, which lies between this lower and upper limit, which does not exist in this array. So, for example, your lower is 0 and upper is 99, and then you see this is your input array, and you see uh, the input array has 0, so which is the lower limit, and then it has 1, then it has 3, but it is missing the number 2, so the output array will have 2, which is missing. And then also you see the range 3 and 50, so between 3 and 50 there is a range 4 to 49, which is missing. That will be included in output array. Likewise, it will go further from 50 to 50 75, 51 to 74 is the missing range. And then after the last number, you have to compare with the upper limit. If upper limit is greater than the last number of the element of the array, then you need to find out the range, which is 676 to 99. So that's kind of very straightforward um, question. You need to consider many things. So I would say you should start understanding the question. Once you understand, then there are mandatory tasks you should follow, which is kind of how to solve the challenge. So I would recommend don't start writing the code as soon as you understand the problem. Discuss with your interviewer what is your thinking, what is your logic, and what kind of algorithm you are thinking to implement. So follow, discuss the algorithm, the solution, then also try to optimize your solution. I will say most of the interview, what I have seen interviewee, they just focus on the solution, but they don't optimize that at the first, and then later on they don't have enough time to provide an optimal solution. So focus on the optimal solution at the start. Consider the big notation, and then also as an extra point, like an add-on, uh, follow the object-oriented method. Whether you are selecting any language, C++ or Java or Python, just try to write it in the object-oriented manner. So that's kind of added an extra bonus point. So let's see how we can solve this challenge. First of all, as an interview, what I would say, I would discuss with the interviewer what's my logic, and then also I'll consider the edge edge cases. So in here, what you see, this is my input array. So if I want to find out the missing number between lower 0 and 99, so basically you see in the array, if you start with the first element, so this problem you can solve by the pointer approach. So you can have two pointer approach where you point the first element, like say current pointer and the next pointer. So if I say current pointer is 0 and next pointer is 1, so you see 0 and 1 there is no missing range, but between 1 and 3 there are 1. So how can we know there is a missing number or missing range? So basically, the logic starts with the number. If you subtract the next number with the current number, and if the value is, say, not greater than 1, then there is no missing range. So for example, suppose 0 to 1, the difference between 0 1 is 1, which is equal to 1, not greater than 1. But the subtraction or the value 3 minus 1, which is equals to 2, which is greater than 1. So whenever you subtract your next integer with the current integer, and if you find the value greater than 1, that means there is a missing number or range. So that's the first logic to find the missing number or range. And the second one, once you find like there is a difference like greater than 1, then you know there is a missing number. The missing number could be 1 or can be range. So if you see, say for example, if you are seeing here, what I'm gonna do here, I can make, if I want to find a missing range, then 1 2 3, I have to go 1 plus 1. If I add 1 in my current number, that will be 2, and then I I subtract 1 from my next element, I'll get 2. So by going adding 1 to the current number and subtracting 1 to the next number, you will get the range. So it can be two ways. So either this next plus 1, sorry, the current plus 1 can be equal to next minus 1. So if you find this like this case, so in that case we don't have a range, but we have a missing number, which is 2. In case of range, what we see, if for 50 and 75, if we say add 1 to the 50 and then we subtract 1 from the next element, so we see 51 and then 74. So this 51 74 is the range which is under that lower and upper bound. So now you know there is a range. So the range needs to be formatted like this way. So now we see, first step, we need to make sure the difference between next and current number is greater than 1, then there is a missing range. Once we know that that condition satisfies, then we need to find out whether there is a missing number or there is a range. The missing number, if we find current plus 1 is equal to next minus 1, that means only one number is missing. And the other case can be the current plus 1 and next minus 1 is not equal, that means there is a range like this case. So we understand how we can approach to solve this problem. There is one more factor we need to consider. What about this lower and upper bound? So this lower and upper bound, if you see, so suppose if my number starts, like for example, if we take this one, the second example is this. So if we take this one, right? So in that case, we see there is a lower and upper, and then we have only one. So basically, you know already the lower and upper is the limit of the integer array. So the first element of the array either can be equal to 0 or greater than 0. And the last element is the same way. It can be less than or equal to upper limit. So basically what we are trying to find out, we are trying to find out the range of missing numbers. So to solve it in a better way, simple way, what we can do, we can have considered this lower limit as a first element in the array and the upper limit is the last element in the array. So if we add this both, say for example, if we make this one by appending this with the first value which is 0 and the last value which is 99, then we don't need to worry about the range because we are already adding the lower and upper bound limit in the array. Now we can just go with the same approach and then consider this array, and then we have to find out the range of missing numbers. That's it. So this will solve your problem, and then we'll discuss the big O notation later on. So this is like a pseudo algorithm. Now we can start writing code. Your interviewer might ask some questions and you can explain what's your approach, and then you start writing code. So let's see. uh, so I'll comment this out, and I'll start a class. I'll create a class first. Say I'm creating a class. I've selected Python 3. You can select Java also, but in this video we are going to cover the Python solution. And then you can define a helper function, which is just the formatting. This will take care of the formatting part. So it will format your output. So say, for example, it is formatting your output. It's just a helper range, and I'll come back to this one later. And say next, I'm gonna define my main function, which is which will accept um, which will accept the array and the lower and upper limit. So I'll also include the self since I'm doing an object-oriented method. And then I'll have the nums, which is my array, and then I have lower, which is the lower limit, and then I'll have upper, which is the upper limit. So this will accept the value, and then so as we were discussing, what we're going to do, we're going to modify the nums array or the input array, and we are going to add the lower and upper uh, bound in this array. So one thing to keep in mind, whenever you see, like whenever we are trying to compare, like you see here, what we are doing, we are adding 1 to the current element and subtracting -1 from the next element. So in that case, when we are adding the number, the lower bound, so instead of doing just the lower, what I will do, I will add lower -1, and then I will have the nums input, and then I will have the upper -1. So this way you'll see what I'm doing here. So in that case, um, why I'm doing lower -1, because 0 is the range. So we have to start one integer before to know whether 0 exists. So we need to consider 0 and 99. So that's why we have to start one integer before and take one integer after. So that means 100 to -1, because 0 and 99 needs to be also checked on this integer array. So I hope that is clear. And then we declare a result array that will be our output. So I will start a for loop, and this for loop start in a range. So you can start with 1 to length of array, and then you so this is the way we are checking. So say for example, I'm checking my current element is my current element, my next element. So my next element is num I, and current element will be num I -1. So since I'm starting the range from 1, so my first number will be, so num I means the first zero index, sorry, one index. One index is basically the one which will be the second element, and the previous number will be I-1. So this is the way I'm representing. This is my next integer or next pointer, and this is my current pointer. If this value is greater than 1, as we mentioned, that means there is a missing range. So once we check that, then what we gonna do, we gonna put that or append that result array, and we can call the helper function. So helper function, I have the helper function, this one, helper function, this one, and then we can call with this function, and then we can mention the so we have to call this one with the previous or current pointer plus 1, because that's what our algorithm is. We have to add, you see, current plus 1 and then next minus 1. Next is num I, which is our this one, which will be plus 1. So yeah, sorry, so this is going to be minus 1. So what we are doing, we are next minus 1, this is next minus 1, and this is our current plus 1, this is our current plus 1. So we are passing this value to the format, and then we will be accepting this value. Say I'm just giving a or b. So a is my current and b is my next pointer. So the condition is if a equals to b, then we know there is only one number missing, which is return. We can convert either a, we can return a or b, doesn't matter. And else, if that is not equal to, then we can return the range, which will be a. We can concatenate to format the range, which is required by the question, and then we can turn this b. So this way we have that. So we are returning the range, and the like the same way we'll be calling next element, and this will cover all the edge cases. Now our last task is to create the object. We can create an object of this class, and then we can just print to call. So I'm just printing with object dot. So we have the object, then we have to call this one, this function, and then we can pass any value. So we can pass this value, say the first one. Let's see, the first one is this one. So I think that's the one. So we are passing the input array and the lower and upper limit. So this should work. Let's run it. There is one syntax error. I think I missed something here. So this is one extra. Solution. Okay, so here is the typo. So okay, so let's see. What is this? Okay, says object method object is not subscriptal. Okay, I think, oh, I missed here, one here, and then this one. Okay, so let's run it. This should work. Print. So I corrected the typo. There was some typo. So once this is done, we can just return the result. And let's see. So we are getting that output as expected, and we can test with other input also. So this is also, we can give 1, and then lower and upper is 1, so there should not be any missing range, I guess. So let's see, we'll execute one more, and then upper and lower is -1. So you see there'll be the output should be a blank or empty array. So that's what it is. So now we'll cover the BIGO notation. You see the time complexity and space complexity. The time complexity is, it will be, it's OON. As you see, like we are going through the loop for n number of times for n number of elements. That's the worst scenario. And the space complexity will be, it's a constant, will be 0 1, because we are just using one variable. And worst scenario it will be 0 n, but it's like constant value, so it will be space complexity will be 1. So that's about it. That's the solution. Yeah, if you have any question, feel free to comment. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. And if you want to see more videos in future, please let me know. Also, in the next video, I'll cover how we can perform multiple test cases. Like we can write unit test cases. So instead of writing you every time the test case and do the print, you can write unit test cases and execute, which is also an extra added bonus point, which can be like very helpful, and you can give a good impression to the interviewer. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow.